to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. We are here to podcast about anything and everything Star Wars with you. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR KyleJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at rabr.keijOhansen.us. And now, it's time to talk Star Wars. I am Kyle John Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say hello.
Hello. Sorry, today, same day as the episode 1 was recorded, and Scott is ill. Of course, he's got a flu shot and maybe a booster COVID shot, so he's under the weather with those reactions. Today we're discussing Star Wars Andor episode 2, and that would be called That Would Be Me. And I think that's a reference to who lets the Imperials know that Cassian is a Kenari, which apparently is a bad thing because we see here later in the episode the planet was devastated and destroyed by the Empire by accident. There was an accident, and maybe we're supposed to assume that accident is that ship that landed, pretty much killed everybody off. It was some sort of virus on the ship, and we see some of the people that are in the ship later on in the episode. Is it this one or the next one? I don't remember exactly, but they all kind of are orange and they die and whatever, and they're dead. One of them does come wake back up or something later, but there's something weird going on there. So it's possible that this was the accident that caused everybody. Anyway, today we're going to talk of some news. I've got a couple news things for this episode. So let me click this.
It's time for the news.
Yes, it is. And what that means is today we're going to talk about that B2EMO droid. It's a ground mech salvage assist unit. Because we're seeing a lot of people on this planet are salvaging or picking up scrap parts. It's possible the Empire brings all their destroyed or damaged parts there and pays these people to strip them down and find parts that they can reuse, kind of thing. So this droid, B2EMO, often is called B. It isn't an astromech, but it's approximately the same size. It looks more, let's say, rugged. It's got a lot of heavy kind of coverings on it to maybe protect it from a rough environment. And we see several sections on the droid that look like openings between the red, and those are probably where different types of tools and stuff are hidden at that it might use at one point or time. And it has a single round circle at the top for for video, so we can see things. This is a lens, and there's a small one next to it. It's either to detect things around it, or a lot of times we see that kind of used to project holograms, like we saw R2 do quite a bit. And it says here it's used primarily for extraction and transport salvage machinery. This design is more resembling a mix between a Mesopotamian Zerkrat and Bureautist East Block something from the 70s, whatever. Um, and we see, there's a different modes. He can go where everything's all compacted down and scrunched down, or you can expand up, and there's the top part where the lens is, and there's a couple things. There's just a middle section, a third section, and then of course down by the um, where the wheels are. And like I said, the ruggedness is for protection because it's in a pretty rough environment. Um, yeah, let's see. This is the droid we see in the first episode that's coming back to Cassian, and one of those crazy looking dogs pees on it, and he whips out a tool that gives the dog a shock, so it runs away. We can see that there's some painting that's happened on there, and there's some scuffs and scratches. Uh, and this droid's interesting because most droids that we meet, they do beeps and chirps and different noises, but it's something we don't understand. It's a mechanical kind of language, and this droid actually communicates with human speech and is unable to understand it. And he has a little. We notice he has a little stutter, kind of like I'm doing right now too. And maybe that's because he's apprehensive, or he's a stressed out kind of droid. And we notice that he's capable of lying. He's capable of not telling the truth on information. And we hear Cassian talk about it, and the droid says that it takes more power for him to lie because it's harder to lie. Basically is what he's trying to say. So he needs to make sure he's charged up good and everything like that, so he can do plenty of lying and stuff. Demanding energy. Let's see what else. And this droid appears to be self-aware, like we see all the other droids seem to be. Anyway, it's interesting, and I think we'll only see this droid in a few episodes, maybe the first three, because we see, in the third episode that we may not get to today, we see Cassian leaving the planet and leaving the droid behind. So maybe those are the only scenes we see. Maybe there's flashbacks. We don't know. All right, so that's that article. Just thought that'd be kind of information that we'd be interested in. If you have any comments about it, please give us some feedback. We've got plenty of ways to do that. I'm gonna have a segment at the end here where I talk more about how to send us feedback, but please do. The other article is James Earl Jones has announced that, along with Lucasfilms, has announced that he will no longer be the voice of Darth Vader. He's retiring that voice, so he will no longer do it anymore. That's probably because he's older now, and I think he's got problems with his voice as he has gotten older. You know, he is one of the iconic voices that we hear throughout the entire series. And we'll see how Lucasfilms gets around that now. We know that Lucasfilms does a lot of repurposing of voices and words said, especially when they come out with a special edition. They want to add a couple of things. and there's rumor that there's a interview that uh, what's his name, Harrison Ford did, that was totally dubbed. Basically, the voice was totally created and done by Lucasfilms. The actual words were not said by Harrison. He gave consent for them to create the I don't know, video statement or whatever it was. And they did what they needed to do, and basically said things like Harrison is always. We've always heard things that Harrison uh, did not like his character in Star Wars, and did not want to continue doing it. Um, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see in the first sequel movie where he gets spoiler, he gets killed, because he's done with it. He wants doesn't want anything else to do with Star Wars. Um, so anyway, James Earl Jones retiring. Hopefully Mr. Earl Jones will live quite a bit longer, but he's probably thinking, hey, it's time for me to retire. I don't want to worry about any of this stuff anymore. I'm done. So yeah, that's the end of the news there.
The news.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the show here in just a moment, but I'm going to play a spoiler alert because this is a brand new show, and we don't want you watching or listening to our podcast if you haven't watched the show, because we will be discussing details about what happened in the show.
Spoiler alert. Danger. You're about to be spoiled. This is your spoiler alert. We're about to talk candidly and explicitly about some TV shows or movies. If you have not watched them, please fast forward to the appropriate section. You will not be warned again because you will be spoiled.
Spoiled. Yeah, we don't want you to be spoiled. So get in there and watch it before you listen to us. Unless you want to listen to us and kind of skip watching it. We're not going to give you line by line details, but we'll give you some general details about what's happening in here. And we hope that you'll provide us some feedback so we can discuss it in future episodes. All right. So if we remember first episode, I'm going to recap it quickly. Cassian is looking for his sister. He goes and tries to find her at a brothel that he had word that she might have been at or worked at. Some guards that were there come out and want to harass him, and they get into a fight. He ends up killing both of the guards, and now he is running from what appears to be the Imperials coming to find out who he's at. They put out bulletins saying that he's wanted, and we see scenes where the Imperial guard and everything like that is investigating and trying to find out who this person was. So we come back to this episode, and we start on Canary again, where Cassian, and again his middle name is Jurin Andor, and they're taking a journey to the shipwreck, and we see Cassian overlooking the big mine. And then we flash back to the other planet, and we see a guy with the hammers that we've always seen in the trailers, where he's, basically he's the manual version of the clock towers, the bells in the clock tower. So he's dinging these things, apparently denoting the time of day or something of sort, end of shift kind of thing, because everybody appears to be a heavily um, working class kind of planet. Um, and we see Pegala is powering down a starship, and working on it. Meanwhile, Tim and Bix go out for a meal, share a kiss. And Bix says she has to go. And Tim follows and sees a news thing that the Pre-More Authority, which basically the Empire guards, is looking for a male Canary and questioning with contact of corporate. They need to contact corporate security. And then we see Cassian visiting Marva, Andor is what she's called, and we assume that that's where his last name came from. And the droid B2EMO is at the house, and they're talking and exchanging greetings. Cassian says he got his injury on his face from tripping on a cable, helping Pegla. And he claims he was out on a drinking binge with Brasso. And Marva tells BT EMO that to read it, and it's the bulletin saying that authorities are looking for someone from Canary. And Marva asks Cassian who was born on who knows that he was born on Canary, and she reminds him that he needs to remain the cover story that he was born on Fest. And Cassian kind of admits that he's the one that told him, and she scolds him for doing that. And the droid B2 informs Cassian that Bix has been trying to contact him. And before he can say anything, the droid powers down. Probably because he's been lying too much. Marva and Cassian discuss more about Cassian messing up and telling the wrong people. Later, we see Cassian meet up with Bix and tells her about the incident. What happened, and the whole story. Verlo Skiff and Travis Deezer are the two men that he killed on Moreland 1. And Cassian wants Bix to contact someone to sell a piece of technology in return for him getting off the planet. Bix tells him that the buyer is coming the following day, and that it will be too late to call it off for now. And we see Tim watching in the background, kind of, maybe hearing or not. He's jealous, basically, of Bix and Cassian. And Bix tells Cassian it's time for him to leave. Because she doesn't want Tim getting jealous. And we see Tim going through a hallway or whatever, an alleyway, and he finds a communication terminal, and he calls the Primora authority and submits a tip. And we see the team checks Cassian's records and finds that he committed several crimes, including destruction of Imperial property and assault of an Imperial officer. The deputy inspector Cyril inquires about their progress and is very frustrated with them not finding anything. But they do come up with an image or of Cassian, a 3D hologram image. Later that night, Tim meets up with Bix, and they head to bed and undress, and we assume there's sex that happens. There's been a lot of talk online about this is the first Star Wars show that has ever hinted about sex. And the it says here, meanwhile, Curran is visited by Sergeant Linus Mosk, who has reported for duty at midnight. And Curran tells him they have a dangerous suspect. Mosk thinks they will need about 12 people or 12 troops to execute a warrant or a search. They've tracked down, I guess, Cassian where he is at, based on the tip that Tim gave him. And they need that many people because they need to show strength and show that they're a force not to be reckoned with, at least on this planet. And meanwhile, we go back and we see Marva at home. Andor attains a transmitter from a derelict wheeled vehicle while holding his blaster pistol. He experiences a flashback to Canary again, and the tribe is advancing on the wreckage. And we see back on Krennic, we see a worker beating on some metal. Bix wakes from sleep, and Tim has been sleepless all night because he's been, thinking in his head too much, worrying about stuff. She asks Bix Tim if he can open up the yard for him because she has a few errands to run. And we see Cassian talking to B2 about comms and stuff, and he needs to find comms and what they're for and why he needs them. And the droid asks about the location of Marva's credits, and Andor or Cassian says they don't need anyone to help find it. Tries to advise the droid tries to advise Cassian, and meanwhile Cassian tells the droid he better hurry up and get back before he's noticed missing. So we switch to a scene where Marva's looking for B2. And while searching Cassian's room, she finds improvised staff from Cassian's childhood, from the flashbacks. And we see we flash back now to the planet, and we see the Kenari female leader approaching the wreckage. She checks a body falling on the ground. And another member approaches the ship's docking ring. And we see another member of the crew of the ship that's crashed right at the entrance. They have separate symbols on their suits. One of the members stirs and shoots at the female with the blaster, and the tribe retaliates by firing their blow dart at him, and they shoot. Looks like dozens of these darts at this guy. We assume maybe they have poison in them or something. We don't know. And that guy with the blaster evidently has shot and killed the leader. And they all kind of gather up. They're all upset, so they're all kind of gather up and leave. But Cassian appears to stick behind, and he goes inside the ship and is investigating the ship. Back in the present, we see a few aliens arguing about a transport. Cassian visits one named Xanawan, and he's searching for a planet called Kenari, which was abandoned by the Imperial mining disaster. The planet's considered toxic, and travel is permitted by the Empire. And Xanawan also tells Cassian that the enforcement authorities are looking for someone from Kenari and asks what he can do for Cassian. Cassian inquires about the cost of traveling to Tassel. Xanawan says that will cost about 900 credits due to short notice and secrecy. Android convinces him to settle for 700 credits. And then we see a pre-Morse security ship traveling through hyperspace, and Sergeant Mosk is briefing the troops, and we see the assistant inspector also gives a little speech as well. They are warning that this guy's dangerous. He's killed 2 people already. They plan to ambush him by surrounding him, and with a pincher move is what they call it. But that's kind of a move where they go to one section and kind of force him to the rest of the troops in 2 other sections. So they're going to kind of surround him basically, so he can't get out, which is always what we see authorities kind of do. Meanwhile, we see a guy that's on a hover bus along with our supposedly buyer that Cassian's going to meet later. And he begins to chat with this gentleman on the bus, talking about fees and authorities and how much it costs and all this stuff. When he was younger, uh, working at the propulsion industry, uh, Rael doesn't really want to talk to him about much, but he doesn't ignore the guy. Um, and the passenger says, anything worth finding can be found here, which is kind of probably the motto with the you know salvage kind of stuff. And we get on with that, and we see it flying over a settlement in Ferrix, and I believe we get some credits not long after that. Let's just make sure that's the end there. And I'm gonna play this thing. Which one? This one.
Are you planning your next trip to Tatooine? Well, come on down to Pelly's Mod and Repair Shop, where our droids will spruce up your wagon. We'll service just about anything from Starfighter Corellian Y1300 freighter to a Vespa hovering scooter. If we don't have the part, we can get it. If you qualify for our special program, we'll provide you with any part our Jawas can get. Well, that's right. Come on down to Pelly's Mod and Repair Shop, where we can store fuel and upgrade your vessel. We're located at Tatooine's Mos Eisley Spaceport, Hangar 35.
Hangar 35. That's right. What I've heard about that is they can repair anything you bring in. They're pretty talented, and for the right price, you can get just about any part you need, even if it's a rare part. So you just got to be careful. Sometimes they're trying to sell you the same part that you already own. So just be careful. But they're very reliable. Anyway, so that was the end of the episode. We kind of see this Raphael guy coming in on the transport and landing on Ferric, and that ends the episode. So, my question is what's the deal with the ship, the vessel that crashed on Canary back in the past? Is that really what caused the disaster, or is it the mining that caused the disaster? And so we want to hear everything you can think about that. In our with feedback.
Feedback at KyleJohansson.us. That's feedback, KaileJohansen.us.
Yeah, so that's the question. Is that something that was released from that ship when it crashed is what caused the devastation of the entire planet Canary? Not really a mining accident. So feedback can be had by many ways. We talk about this every time, but we really, really need your feedback, because that's another completely different element of the show that we'd enjoy having more of. So on the left-hand side of the website, we have several ways that you can provide us feedback. One is a link that's directly for feedback, and you will submit a name you want us to call you by, and then your feedback. Those are the only two items that we ever get from you. We don't get your IP address. We don't get any email address. None of that information. If you were filling out a long feedback, and let's say you get a phone call, There is an option where you can log in and save your feedback so you can come back to it later. But that's the only time you need to log in. There's no need to log in to submit feedback. All you have to do is, like I said, provide a name for us to call you by and your feedback, and we will have it on the show and we'll talk about it. The other way is through the question of the week. Our question of this week: did the ship crashing cause the devastation of the planet Canary? And I believe that's kind of what we're supposed to believe, but we've been fed a story from the Empire that it was a mining accident, which is not necessarily true. So when you answer or vote on our question, there's a comment section there that you can comment on after you voted. You can also go to our YouTube channel where we have video of this podcast, and you can comment there. And those are the two main places. You can also send us email at feedback.kylejohansson.us, and that'll come to us as well. That's pretty much the same method that we get from the form you fill out on the website. It sends an email with your feedback information. So please, check out the website. There's lots of neat features there that you can take advantage of. One of them tells you how to get our podcast either through your computer or on your device. We also have a Star Wars timeline. We have links that we discuss in the intro about different sources you can get our podcast from, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, many other places. And many of those places get backed up to other places as well. So there's all that. And then we have a section that's fairly new that's called RABR Seasons, which obviously translates to Rebel Alliance Briefing Room Seasons. You can go there and you can look through all the different seasons that we've done. And when I say seasons, that is a one season for our show is a grouping of shows or a series. So, example, Book of Boba Fett season 1 is the season 1. Season 2 of our show is Bad Batch season 1. And on this seasons page, you'll have links to every episode we did for that season. You can go through and look at the episode, and then if there's video, you can play the video directly from our website, or click a link and you can listen to it directly there. Season 3, we did the prequels: The Phantom Menace, The Clone, Attack of the Clones, The Revenge of the Sith. Season 4 was the original series: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Season 5 is when Kenobi came out, Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So that's all of season 1 there. Hopefully there'll be a season 2 for that show. Season 6, I called A Star Wars Story, and we did the Clone Wars movie, which is an animated movie that was not highly publicized. Then there was a solo movie and Rogue One, season 7, Star Wars sequel trilogy, and that includes The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. And of course, we're in season 8 of our podcast, which is Andor. And right now, we've got episodes 1 and 2 in the can, so to speak. And we'll have episode 3 maybe next week, maybe later in the week. We'll see. And those are different ways you can give us feedback and interact with our website. So please do that. All right, so just to kind of wrap this up, I think this has gotten to be an interesting episode. It was included a lot more information. There was a lot more action. There was a lot more going on. We got more backstory, so I think we're getting deep into it, and it's becoming a very interesting show. Like I said, all these three episodes kind of go together, and they kind of um, tell one story. So, uh, episode three, we're looking forward to that, and we'll be reviewing that shortly. Um, this show is definitely different. I think the elements and everything are a lot different than we've seen in any other show because obviously we don't have any flashy droids like C3PO. There's no you know Sith or Jedi that we've seen so far. We're just seeing regular people that are down and out and destitute and just doing whatever they can to take care of their families. So anyway, send us your feedback, and hopefully Scott will be better, and we can continue on with him with maybe episode 3 and 4.
Thank you for listening to the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast. Please visit our website where you can play current and past episodes. That's https://RABR KyleJohansson.us. That's RABR.KyleJohansson.us. On the left-hand side is a navigation menu. You can use this to learn how to load the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room podcast on your Android or Apple phone and tablet. And we have direct links to our podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts. Please participate by connecting to our social media, answering questions of the week, or submitting feedback directly from the site. Again, all of these are available at the Rebel Alliance Briefing Room website at RABR.KyleJohansson.us. This podcast in no way is approved, sponsored, or owned by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. All opinions are solely owned by Kyle and or Scott and in no way express the views or opinions of their past or present employers. Views and opinions are not supported or restricted by Lucasfilms Ltd., Disney, Disney Plus, or any of its subsidiaries. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this podcast and its affiliate sites without consent of Super Duper Podcast Network and its host is prohibited. I am Kyle Johansson, and this is Andrew Scott Sutton. Say goodbye now.
Goodbye. Sorry Scott wasn't here today. Like I said, he's under the weather. Not feeling well from a couple shots he got for the flu shot and possibly COVID again. Scott is a great guy, and he has immunocompromised issues, so he tries to get all these vaccines so that he's protected. And hope that everybody else is doing the same. Thank you.